Hey everyone, and welcome to another deep dive.
Today, we're going to be wading into some pretty choppy waters.
Coke.
Talking about inflation and interest rates.
Yeah.
And how they impact the commercial real estate market.
So get your life vests ready.
Absolutely.
We're going deep.
Yeah, navigating these economic currents can be tricky for sure.
But that's why we're here to help chart a course through it all. Using some great insights that I got from this AIlies commercial realty blog post they put out recently.
I love that. And you know me, I'm always
down for a good nautical metaphor.
But seriously though.
We're talking about your investments here.
Yes.
So let's cut through all the jargon and get to what really matters.
Exactly. Think of it this way.
Inflation is like a silent rent increase on your money over time.
You know, it diminishes its buying power.
Right.
And then interest rates.
They're the gatekeeper to financing.
They dictate how much that new investment property will actually cost you.
Okay, I'm already feeling smarter, but...
This isn't just about understanding, like, these individual forces at play, right?
Yeah, no.
It's about how they, like...
You're exactly right.
Interact.
It's the interplay.
Especially in the world of commercial real estate.
You're spot on. AIlies Commercial Realty actually refers to it as this.
Tricky triangle?
I like that.
For a reason.
Because it's not as simple as saying inflation is good or bad for real estate.
Give us an example.
Sure. Let's say inflation pushes up construction costs.
Right.
Suddenly, that older office building that you own...
Seems like a pretty good deal.
Compared to building a brand new one.
Values can get a boost.
Yay.
But here's the catch.
If those rising prices are coupled with soaring interest rates, financing new projects, renovation,
becomes a major hurdle for potential buyers.
Right.
And that hesitation can ripple through the entire market.
So it's a delicate dance between these forces.
It is.
AIlies Commercial Realty actually drew this really fascinating parallel to the 1980s real estate market.
Remember that whole boom and bust cycle?
Right. Low interest rates.
Fueled a frenzy of investment in construction.
But it eventually led to oversupply and a very painful correction when the economy shifted.
Ouch. Yeah. So it's that reminder that what goes up
must come down.
Must come down. Unless you're talking about inflation, right?
Touché. And that's exactly why understanding
the nuances of the current economic climate are so crucial.
For anyone with skin in the game.
And that brings us to the heart of today's deep dive.
Exploring how these economic forces are impacting different types of commercial real estate.
Because as we all know, not every property is created equal.
They're not. It's like comparing apples to oranges.
Totally.
Or maybe we should say a downtown skyscraper to a self-storage facility in the suburbs, right?
Okay, yeah.
Each sector kind of dances to its own tune.
Let's start with a sector that's been making a lot of headlines lately.
Office real estate.
Sure.
With so many companies embracing remote work these days.
Right.
What does the future hold for these towering symbols of corporate life, you know?
That's the billion-dollar question.
Right.
AIlies Commercial Realty points out that the demand for that traditional office space
has definitely softened in many markets.
Okay.
But they also highlight this really interesting concept of adaptive reuse as a potential bright spot.
Adaptive reuse?
Yeah.
That sounds intriguing. Tell me more.
So it's basically like giving an old office building a complete makeover.
Okay.
Imagine transforming those rows of cubicles into like trendy loft apartments, co-working spaces, even vertical farms.
Wow.
It's about breathing new life into these structures and really adapting to the changing needs of the market.
I like it.
And guess what? Demand for urban living and these flexible workspaces is soaring right now.
That's true.
So this is definitely a trend to watch.
Okay, so maybe these office towers aren't headed for the history books just yet?
Not quite.
But what about something a little more, shall we say, stable?
The AIlies article mentioned that self-storage is seeing kind of a surge in popularity right now.
It is.
What's driving that trend?
You know, it's not just about people needing a place to store their extra stuff anymore.
Okay.
Although, let's be honest, that's always going to be a factor.
Right.
But AIlies Commercial Realty connects this boom to several factors, actually.
Including the rise of e-commerce, the increasing mobility of the workforce, and even like these changing family dynamics that we're seeing.
Interesting.
Plus, they point out that self-storage has historically been a strong performer during inflationary periods.
Because people are more likely to, I guess, rent that storage space when their dollars are losing value.
Partially, but there's also a financial element at play.
Okay.
AIlies Commercial Realty highlights that during the 2008 recession,
Yeah.
while other real estate sectors were really stumbling,
Self-storage rental rates remained remarkably resilient. Yep.
interesting. So it's like the tortoise of the real estate market.
Slow and steady wins the race.
Exactly. And that kind of stability can be really appealing to investors,
Yeah.
especially during these times of economic uncertainty.
For sure. For sure. Okay. Let's talk about a sector that's near and dear to many people's hearts.
Okay.
Apartments.
Yes.
Is that still a safe bet for investors
Yeah.
in this kind of crazy economic climate we're in?
The multifamily market is fascinating right now.
Okay.
On the one hand, demand remains incredibly strong,
Okay.
especially in those high-growth urban areas.
Right.
AIlies Commercial Realty specifically calls out New York City.
And Washington, D.C. as examples.
Makes sense.
What?
There's always a but, isn't there?
Always a but.
Those rising interest rates we talked about earlier,
Yeah.
they're having a real impact on financing costs for those new apartment projects.
Okay.
And if developers are hesitant to build,
Right.
that could eventually constrain supply and push rents even higher.
Classic case of supply and demand.
Right.
But what does that mean for the investors that already own apartment buildings? Are they sitting pretty?
They're in a good position right now,
Okay.
particularly if they were able to lock in those favorable interest rates on their loans a while back.
Right.
But
Oh, another.
AIlies Commercial Realty cautions that even seasoned investors need to be really strategic here.
Okay.
Because as interest rates climb, it's getting more and more expensive to refinance existing loans or even acquire new properties.
So timing and strategy are everything.
Absolutely. And it's not just about crunching the numbers either.
Okay.
Understanding the local market dynamics is absolutely crucial.
Yeah, that makes sense.
AIlies Commercial Realty emphasizes that, investors need to pay close attention to factors like population growth.
Job creation
Yeah.
and even those local zoning regulations that could impact future development.
So it's like a game of multidimensional chess out there.
You could say that.
And speaking of different pieces on the board, let's move on to a sector that's facing its own unique set of challenges.
Retail.
Retail.
Now, there's a sector that's really felt the heat of inflation lately.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, who hasn't done a double take at the grocery store checkout lately, right?
For sure.
But how is that translating to the world of commercial real estate?
Well, it's a mixed bag, really.
Okay.
AIlies Commercial Realty points out that retail actually has an advantage that some other sectors don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah, those shorter lease terms you mentioned.
Right, because it gives the landlords more flexibility to adjust rents as inflation rises.
Exactly, but
Okay.
here's the thing.
Can those rent increases really keep pace with the rising costs of, well, everything?
Right.
And will consumers continue to spend?
At the same rate if their wallets are being squeezed.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So it's a bit of a tightrope walk
It is.
for these retail property owners out there.
They need to strike that balance between, covering their expenses and keeping their tenants in business.
It's a real balancing act.
Right.
And it kind of highlights a key insight that I got from this AIlies Commercial Realty piece,
Okay.
which is that understanding the type of inflation we're experiencing is really crucial.
Okay.
Is it driven by supply chain disruptions, soaring energy costs, or something else entirely?
Because different causes require different solutions.
Exactly. You got it.
Okay.
And that's where having a deep understanding of the broader economic landscape becomes so valuable.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just react to what's happening in the moment.
Yeah.
You really need to anticipate those future ripples.
Speaking of anticipation, the AIlies article left me with one big question.
Yeah.
What happens if inflation does start to cool down,
Okay.
but interest rates remain really high?
Yeah.
How does that impact these commercial real estate investments?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Right.
And it's definitely something that every investor should be thinking about.
Okay.
If financing remains expensive, but those price pressures ease up a little bit,
Yeah.
it could create some really interesting opportunities,
Oh.
particularly for those with cash on hand.
And a long-term investment horizon.
So it's not all doom and gloom.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
There's always light,
I love that.
but it's not about blindly chasing,
The next hot market,
Okay.
AIlies Commercial Realty, stresses the importance of doing your due diligence,
Of course.
having a really deep understanding of those market fundamentals.
And perhaps most importantly, aligning your investment strategy with your own individual risk tolerance and your own financial goals.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
And that is a wrap on our deep dive into the crazy dynamic world of inflation and interest rates and how they're impacting the commercial real estate market.
Hopefully you've surfaced with a treasure trove of insights.
Yes.
And newfound appreciation for just how complex
these forces are that are shaping this ever-evolving landscape.
It's always changing. Until next time, happy investing.
Get in touch with Allies Commercial Realty at info@alliescommercialrealty.com to find your ally in commercial real estate.